Hey guys, good morning. What's up? It's Drew here. I wanted to give a word today about intent and consent. I'm not going to give you the typical, we're going to talk about money and talk about business and systems. All that stuff is important. All that stuff is cool. But this stuff is ethereal. This stuff goes beneath the surface. It goes inward. It's introspective. I am talking about intent and consent. Now, some people may click off this video because they're like, oh, what's all that about? It doesn't matter. It just sounds like some, words that don't really matter, that don't resonate and whatever. No, intent and consent are very important. These are ways that you communicate with the source. And by the source, I mean God. These are the ways that your heart communicates with the source. You have to be pure-hearted and grounded in your intentions. Otherwise, when you do something, you create an effect that will come back to you. Okay? So if every time you do something with an intention, you create an effect that comes back to you. If you do things with negative intent, if you do things with malice in your heart, okay, there's a difference between justice and malice. Okay? If you do things with malice in your heart and your prime desire is to hurt somebody else, you invariably end up hurting yourself. There is some kind of delay, so it's not going to happen immediately. Sometimes it may happen immediately, but typically between the spiritual world and the physical world, there's a delay. So if you hurt enough people, or if you hurt someone deeply enough, it's gonna come back to you, okay? And people say this is karma and whatnot, but it's really just about intention, because you can hurt people without intending to. You can intend to do something good for somebody and still hurt them, okay? If your intentions are in the right place and your heart is in the right place and you're pure-hearted, I mean truly pure-hearted, you had good intentions and you don't want to harm anybody, then good will come back to you in some way, shape, or form. God will notice it. God will take notice of what your heart is at, and he will make a way for you, because he's like, look, you're pure-hearted, but you have the wrong knowledge. You have the wrong idea about how to go about these things, and he'll provide the knowledge. He'll provide the resources for you. That's intent. The next part is consent. Consent is where a lot of people get in trouble, because a lot of people don't understand how important consent is, okay? There are certain spiritual laws where, like, if you give your consent to something, you have now given evil spirits legal ground to operate in your life, okay? Let me give you an example. When you drink alcohol, I'm not a person that's completely about abstinence from alcohol, but I drink sometimes for fun. I go out, I have drinks with friends and whatnot. But I understand that when I drink a little bit, it kind of reduces all those mental blocks, all that discipline. It kind of just opens you up and loosens you up for a little bit, which is cool if you're able to manage it, okay? That's okay, we're human, you know what I mean? But let's say you have a habit of drinking alcohol all the time. Each and every single time you drink alcohol and you open your body up like that, you're opening your body for spirits to come in. That's why they're called wines and spirits, okay? So each time you drink, each time you take a substance that kind of divorces you from your natural state, you are opening yourself for spirits to take residence in your body, okay? Now, it's temporary most of the time, but it's temporary as much so as your habit of it is temporary. If you're doing it every single day, that means that you're always opening, the door is always open for spirits to come in and out. You're always the halfway point. So you have to be very careful that you don't make these things a habit, because whatever you make a habit shapes your destiny. And that goes with bad things and good things. Any good thing that you make a habit shapes your destiny in one way or another. Habits are actually the key to unlocking what we want in life. If you want to unlock something in life, you build a new habit and you focus on building that new habit and you master that new habit to the point where it becomes second nature. That's the key. Okay. So back to intent and consent. Consent is important because once you give consent to certain things, you don't have a choice in how much the doors open. If you give evil a foothold in your life, you give your consent to evil, they start growing like weeds. It starts growing like weeds. It starts from one thing, then to another thing, then to another thing, before you find yourself in a situation you can't get yourself out of unless God has mercy on you and pulls you out. But there are spiritual laws that evil spirits, that evil cannot break. Evil can show up in your life and tempt you. But if you don't give your consent to it and you reject it, it doesn't mean that you won't go through things and you won't suffer. I mean, Jesus suffered. It doesn't mean that you won't suffer. But if you can help it, there's ways to shut off giving yourself, consenting to and allowing demons to operate in your life. Don't allow it. When you see a door that's open, a potential for evil, close it. Close it. You know, for example, if you're a man in a committed relationship with a woman, you've proposed to a woman, you're engaged to a woman, or you're married to a woman and whatnot, and you see some woman tempting you or whatnot, or some person is trying to tempt you, you see some attractive women end up in your DMs on Instagram or whatever, close the door. Don't go through that door, because that path leads to destruction. It's tempting, but it leads to destruction. We're human, but it leads to destruction. Don't go through that door. That's just one example. If you are a man and you're in a situation where someone close to you has been harmed and whatnot, what's going to fill your heart? At first, your heart's going to fill with rage, with anger, you want revenge. You want to punish the person who did that, right? That might fill your heart. But what does that lead to? That leads to you potentially getting arrested, you potentially not being there for your family, you potentially not being able to provide. Evil begets more evil. That's why God says vengeance is mine, because God can take it on himself. You can't, though, not without consequence. You take on something evil, you invite evil into your life, and it's just, you don't have control over it. You cannot control spiritual forces, right? So that's what it is. If you see an open door, close it. Okay? And one of the best ways to ward off evil is to immerse yourself fully in spiritual relationship with God. Meaning you praying every single day, you worshiping every single day. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go through burdens, you're not going to carry burdens and go through things. But what it does mean is that you'll be prepared. It's like when you're working out, you're going to the gym every day, or you wrestling, or you engaging in MMA every day. You might be ready for a street fight. You might be ready for whatever. You might be ready for bouts that involve your strength or your stamina, your endurance. It's the same thing. When you prepare your mind mentally to take a test, you need to prepare your spirit too for things that may come your way that you're not really prepared for as a human being, because that's where God helps you. Because there are certain things that happen to us as human beings that we're not mentally or physically prepared to be able to handle. The saying that God doesn't give you more than you can handle is basically that if you are in commune with God and in relationship with God, he will carry you through it. And most times he will make you a better creation after it. Sometimes, like the things that go on in our life that hurt us, that sting us, they leave a scar so that you never forget them. Like, for example, for me, I've been through a lot in my history. There's some painful moments that are deeply embedded in my heart, but they're the reason why I'm so disciplined. They're the reason why I'm so focused and so committed. They're the reason why I'm so relentlessly on fire for God, because I've been through pain. And it's not just because I'm avoiding pain. It's because I understand how quickly something can go from, oh, it's just a little this, it's just a little that. Oh, this is just a little this. And then all of a sudden evil is running rampant in your life. It's not to the point where you got to walk on eggshells. You still need to be courageous and bold, but it's a different kind of courageous and bold. It's a courageousness and boldness based on the fact that you know that God is with you. It says that God is a strong tower for the righteous. As long as you live righteously, you worship righteously, you pray to God righteously, whether you're going through something or not, understand that God is with you and will carry you through. That is the source of all my confidence. It's not my 4 businesses. It's not my money. It's not my skills. God gave me all those things anyway. He gave me all those things anyway. And you know what? God didn't even let me access those things until I was ready. He said, Drew, I love you too much. I'm not going to let you get wealthy and get successful without getting right with me first, because that's dangerous. It's dangerous. I feel for people who navigate this world without connection to the source, without connection to God. I feel for you guys, honestly. If you're watching this video and you feel like God is making a calling on your life, lean into it. Those repeating numbers that you see, lean into them. Pray, figure out God's character and figure out a way to get close to him. He will bring you closer to your purpose. And your purpose will bring you closer to prosperity, at least in this world. But never forget that everything that we have in this world is fleeting. Work on your spirit, because that's eternal. Your body's fleeting. Your money's fleeting. All the things that we're attached to here as human beings is fleeting. Doesn't mean you can't be a great person. Doesn't mean you can't worship God and thank God for every single day. But look forward always and make sure that you're working on your spirit and in good relationship with God. And that's all I got to say. God bless. Peace.